June 15th, 1944. Before dawn, along the English Channel coast, a low mechanical growl rolled across the mist like a swarm of angry insects. In the darkness near the Pas-de-Calais, the first V-1 flying bombs of the war ignited their pulse jet engines, coughing fire and vibration as they leapt from their ramps toward London. German officers listened with satisfaction as the sound faded westward. To them, that buzzing sound was terror itself, an invisible weapon meant to break morale without warning. But across the water, inside dimly lit American and British command rooms, another sound was present, the steady clicking hum of radar scopes sweeping the sky. This moment mattered because the V-1 represented Germany's last asymmetric hope. After years of losing air superiority, the Reich had turned to automation. The flying bomb required no pilot, no escort, no return trip. It was cheap, simple, and theoretically unstoppable. German planners believed they had finally created a weapon immune to Allied air power and detection, a weapon that would arrive unseen and unpredictable. What they did not anticipate was that the Americans would not only see the V-1s, but would begin to understand them. The emotional contrast between expectation and reality emerged quickly. German officers expected confusion. They expected London to be struck blindly, defenses overwhelmed by the sheer novelty of a pilotless missile. They expected radar to be useless against a low-flying, small target skimming just above the horizon. Instead, Allied radar operators began to notice something strange. The attacks were not random. The blips appeared in clusters at similar times along repeating corridors. The screens told a story that Germans never intended to reveal. By the summer of 1944, American SCR-584 radar systems, among the most advanced of the war, were being deployed across southern England. Designed originally for aircraft tracking, these microwave radars could detect small, fast-moving objects with remarkable accuracy. Operators observed that V-1s emerged from specific coastal zones, launched at predictable intervals, following stable flight paths dictated by gyroscopic guidance. Each launch produced the same radar signature. Each pulse jet engine created the same moving echo. The buzzing sound, the symbolic object of this story, was no longer mysterious. It was measurable. German records show that the V-1 was intended to bypass traditional defenses entirely. One Luftwaffe memorandum described it as a weapon beyond interception. But Allied intelligence combined radar data with aerial reconnaissance and photographic evidence from mosquito flights. Launch ramps were mapped. Timetables were reconstructed. American analysts began correlating radar plots with impact reports. Within weeks, they were predicting when and where V-1s would appear, sometimes before they were launched. For German officers overseeing the campaign, the realization was deeply unsettling. They had expected the mechanical simplicity to be its strength. Instead, that simplicity became its weakness. The pulse jet's constant buzzing, once imagined as psychological terror, became a tracking beacon. The radar screens glowed with certainty. Each V-1 that crossed the channel announced itself not with surprise, but with data. Historical evidence confirms the shock. In post-war interrogations, German weapons officers admitted they had underestimated Allied detection capabilities. One report from the German Air Ministry noted with alarm that enemy reaction times have shortened inexplicably. They could not understand how anti-aircraft batteries were already tracking targets moments after launch. They did not yet know that American radar operators were watching the launches unfold in real time. The transformation that followed reshaped the air defense war. Using radar-guided predictors, American and British anti-aircraft guns were synchronized directly with tracking data. Fighter patrols were repositioned along known corridors. The result was devastating. By August 1944, interception rates exceeded 70% in some sectors. V-1s were being destroyed mid-air at a pace the Germans believed impossible. What changed was not merely technology, but perception. German officers began to grasp that the United States did not simply invent weapons, it built systems. Radar stations, computation teams, logistics networks, and industrial production worked together as a single organism. Where Germany pursued wonder weapons in isolation, America pursued integration. Democracy's abundance expressed itself not in secrecy, but in coordination. The buzzing pulse jet, once meant to symbolize unstoppable vengeance, became a symbol of inevitability in another sense. Every buzz meant detection. Every launch meant a plotted trajectory. Every mechanical sound fed the Allied data machine. The V-1, stripped of surprise, lost its terror. It became just another target on a screen. For American crews, the experience was transformative as well. Radar operators, many barely out of training, realized they were shaping the battlefield without ever seeing it directly. Their work saved cities they would never visit, intercepted weapons they would never touch. The war was no longer fought only by pilots and infantry, but by analysts, technicians, and mathematicians. It was a quiet revolution in warfare. By September 1944, as Allied ground forces overran the Pas-de-Calais launch sites, the V-1 campaign collapsed. German officers walked through abandoned concrete ramps, knowing the secret had failed. The buzzing sound still echoed in memory, but now it signified something else, the moment when technological intimidation met systematic intelligence and lost. The epilogue of this story lies not in destruction, but in understanding. The V-1 was a weapon built to frighten populations into submission. Radar was a tool built to see clearly. When the two met, clarity prevailed. The Americans did not defeat the V-1 through fear, but through observation, repetition, and shared knowledge. In the end, German officers were stunned not because the Americans had better machines, but because they had built a way of thinking, one that turned sound into signal, chaos into pattern, and terror into data. The buzzing engine that once promised domination became a reminder of a deeper truth, that in a world shaped by freedom and cooperation, even the most secret weapons cannot hide for long.